I want to jump up to Michaela. Michaela, it's your turn.
Hi there, Jesse.
Hey, Michaela, how you?
Oh, I guess my question is I don't know a single young lady my age, 125, single young lady in my generation really, who hasn't been physically or sexually assaulted by men. So to hear you say that like women are like evil until they return to the men, I mean,
Until they return to the Father.
so
Satan is a
so
woman's God.
Satan is not my god, and I'm a woman, and I'm an atheist.
Well, Satan is your daddy, whether you realize it or not. And
That's
this
how.
idea that all the women that you know have been sexually abused, I don't believe that at all, because most women today are sluts and they
Oh my!
hate men. They hate men, and so they go to the slut maker. And when
Oh my
they get
god!
what they want from the slut maker, the men are slut makers and women are sluts. And
Just
so I
for
find it
yeah,
hard to believe
I
that.
just to
I'm
clarify,
25,
Jesse.
and I've never had sex with anyone and never wanted to. So for you to sit here and say that I'm a slut because I'm a
So if
woman
you
and you
haven't had
guys
sex
accept
yet,
me,
you're not a. If you haven't had sex out of wedlock, you're not a slut. But if you have, then you're a slut.
Okay,
I don't know if
that's the clarifier.
that's
We'll come back to Michaela. Um, Interesting question. Good question. I want to jump to Metalworks. Metalworks, you're up, brother.
Oh, jeez.
Metal work. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. You seem like a really nice guy, man, and I was told by Travis, a lot of people do mistreat you badly and kind of look down on you, and I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, I don't care about that at all. I really don't care what people think or say or believe about me, because I love what's right. I love all people, and it's up to them if they want to be of love. They can be of love or of anger. That's up to them.
And I think you can do that. I just don't know if you do really need to believe in God or not to do that, but
there's no other way to do it.
I understand what you're saying. The problem is that people, they have to understand that there's just going to be people that they can't just agree on certain things. And
right. And that's fine. You have a right to be wrong or be right. It's really up to you. And that's why we shouldn't hold grudges against anyone.
I agree with you, man.
Do you have anger?
Like any normal person, yeah, but I try to get away from it. I don't hold on to it.
So you do have anger?
Yeah, and I get through it.
Do you know that any male that has anger is a woman?
I think I've heard you talked about this before.
It's abnormal for a male to have anger. That's the nature of a woman. And men are logical, women are illogical. And so when you return to when women return to their father, they then return to a logical mindset.
Well, can I ask you this? Do you ever feel anger?
No, not at all.
I do, but I know better not to, indulge it and let go of it.
But you can't help it. The only way you got to overcome it, you got to have to overcome your mother. She has recreated you in her image. You got to return to your father.
Metal, do you think that's an accurate analysis of your life, like that your mom has created you in some way? No. So what would you?
No.
How did you become angry?
Well, no, I just experience anger like any normal person.
How did you become you were not born with anger. How did you become angry if it wasn't from your mother?
Well, I think it was from my parents fighting all the time and my brother not being a very nice person.
It was from your parent doing what?
From fighting all the time.
What did that have to do with you?
Well, I always thought it was my fault.
And why did you think that?
Because I didn't want them to fight.
Why not?
Because it was awful. They weren't just like, yelling. They were yelling and screaming and
that would be
always threatening to divorce, always threatening to walk away from each other, just not agreeing on things, both of them acting very stupid and selfish.
Well, that would be because your father couldn't deal with your mother. Your mother is not a nice person, and we become attracted to what we hate. Your father hated his mother. He ended up marrying his mother, and he didn't know how to deal with her in the right way.
Is it?
I think,
Jesse, I have a question about that. Just a small one.
Yeah.
Is it? Do you ever see situations where what Metalworks just described, where it's actually let's just say under your standard of what a woman should be, is there any of those situations where a man is actually the perpetrator of let's say evil in the home?
Yeah, you can find that because men who are like that, they have their mother's identity. They have been turned away from their father, and because women hate men, and when the children are close to the father, it's the worst thing for the mother to deal with because she wants the world to rotate around her. And so when the mothers turn the children away from the father toward her, they take on her nature. And so there are men who are like that, and they act like women when they're in relationships. They're very angry, insecure, emotional, and they don't know how to deal with the issues of life. Absolutely, you can find that, but that's not his natural nature.
So you're another West Coast person. I'm just down the street from you in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, man, you better get out of there.
Oh, no. I'm fifth generation Oregonian.
The radicals are trying to destroy Oregon.
Well, we do have a bit of a problem there, Jesse, but I think I can take care of myself and my family. And
well, good. Watch out for Black Lives Matter.
Yeah? Why do you say that?
Because I don't know how much you know about them, but it's an organization that was started by a bunch of fat, black, radical lesbians, and they hate lesbians, and they hate good. They hate good. They hate God. They hate the family. They hate men. They hate the unborn children, and they were trained by Marxists or something like that, something stupid. Watch out for them because they hate white folks as well.
It's now we're going to.
One other thing I want the men to know is that men need to stop trying to get love from women because women don't have love. And what they're looking for is the love of a father, the real love that is not emotional. You can't feel it, you can't taste it, you can't touch it. It's a light unto your feet. And so the women are looking for the love of the father. Otherwise, they do not have love to give. That emotional stuff they call love, that's evil, and it destroys. It doesn't. That's why if you notice, most of the kids that get love from their mother, they become drug addicts and alcoholics and homosexuals and lesbians, and they become loser in life. But the ones that get the real love, they do very well in life because they can see how to deal with the issues of life.
So Jesse, if you saw like a situation where like a single mother raised like a brilliant kid who went on to live a moral life, you would see that as like an exception to the rule, or would you believe that she was responsible?
I would know that person's mother loved her father. She grew up loving her father. She grew up close to her father. And so the father's love and operating through the mother. And so when she raised a child like that, I would know that they're close to their fathers.
Interesting. I want to jump back to Michaela. Michaela, do you have any follow-ups for Jesse? Any further questions?
So it seems to me what I'm getting from this is just pure claim vomit. Like you're just saying one thing after another. Like it's your boilerplate, right? Like you're used to saying it. Kind of, you probably, I mean, obviously I don't know for sure, but you probably just say this stuff more or less automatically at this point.
So what specifically?
How do you back any of these things up? Like saying that, like what you just said about being loved by the mother, those people become drug addicts. What?
They become angry. They blame others for their problems.
I'm hearing you, but you're just making more claims. Like, can we get some substantiation of your many claims?
I just gave you some.
Like what he's basing. So Michaela's asking, just what are you basing all of this insight on, Jesse? Is it your conviction to God reveals this to you, or?
Well, I've counseled with people for the last 30 years around the world, and 99.999% of the men and women who are not happy resent their mothers, and they have their mother's identity. And so once they forgive their mothers for turning them away from the father or impose her will, then forgive their fathers, they become peaceful in life. They can now deal with life because the anger that they had disappear, and now they have peace. It's a spiritual battle. It's a spiritual battle. You would not be able to understand that until you get to know yourself. If you want to know if you want to know yourself, if you want to know if it's true or not, get to know yourself, and you do not know yourself.
But you don't know anything about me. How can you even say that?
I know that if you knew yourself, you wouldn't be asking these type of questions.
I wouldn't have a sound.
You are blind and cannot see.
Because I'm asking for evidence?
Right,
like
because if you were able to see, you wouldn't ask for evidence. You will already see the evidence.
Because I don't blindly accept.
I'm telling you, get to know yourself, and you will see if what I'm saying is true or not.
So I have gotten to know myself, and I see that it's not true.
And what have you discovered about yourself?
That I am actually a good person.
What makes you good?
I love my friends. I do things to cheer people up. I'm a writer. I talk about things that other people can't talk about. I empower my friends to do the same. And I think that makes me a good person.
So you haven't told me one thing that makes you a good person. You're not a good person. None of those things that you've named make you a good person. As a matter of fact, it proves that you're not a good person because you're trying to please others to feel good about yourself.
That is not what I said.
That is what you said.
No.
Okay, well, we'll come back.
You didn't say it exactly like that, but everything you named is all ego to make you feel good about being wrong. Okay, you have no love.
We'll come back to
that's pretty harsh, but
we'll come back to
Andrew Yang is a socialist, communist pig who needs to go back to his country.
He's American, though. He's
Dave,
a patriot.
One sec,
you
Metal.
Can't send him back because he's born here.
Hang on, Metal.
He's an American. Let's work that way. That's worse. That makes you the authoritarian. That's the thing communists do.
Isn't he the same guy that got on his knees and let some guy put whipped cream in his mouth or something?
I don't care.
Who cares?
Is that the same guy?
That's right.
No, I'm just trying to ask. Is that the same guy?
He's just asking. Was it him?
I'm just saying, Jesse, you're being
I'm
unpatriotic
asking you
when you say he has to go back.
Metal.
Because he was born here.
Okay, Metal.
Is that the same guy?
That's an American. You're un-American when you say that.
Metal,
is that the same guy? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. I don't actually know. I didn't know about that.
Sorry, but
Dave.
I'm very.
And there were a time when people of color would build. When I was growing up down in Alabama on a plantation there, Black people had more character. They had family. They believed in God. They did not believe in government taking care of them. They would not have they would have no other man as their leader. And so they helped. They had a major impact on the country in a good way, but the Blacks sold out when they followed that so-called civil rights movement, which should not have ever happened in America, the so-called civil rights movement, because Blacks have not recovered from that. And what they did, they gave up God and they let the so-called civil rights leaders become their head, and the civil rights leaders sold them over to the government, and it's just been downhill ever since. And so I've noticed that white people build and people of color destroy. I don't know anywhere in this country where the people of color have made it better.
So then what are you doing leading anyone if all people of color do is destroy?
I don't lead anyone. I point them back to the source that's in them, which is God, so that God can lead them. Then they cannot be deceived by other human beings.
But if all you're capable of doing is destroying, it seems like your life bears witness against this point that you're trying to make.
You mean my life personally?
What other life is there?
Are you saying my life or all black people?
Well, you are making these blanket statements about all black people. You are
Not
a black
all, not-
person,
Not all,
therefore.
not all, but most. I'm not one of them. I'm not into the black thing. I'm into the right thing, loving what's right, loving my country, treating all people the way that I would like to be treated, and loving God with all my heart, soul, and might. When I was a liberal, I still wasn't as destructive because I grew up with a family with more values and love what was right. So, but the blacks don't get that now. They're pretending to be victims, and other people using them for their personal gain.
I mean, sure, that happens sometimes, but don't you think that in speaking in such broad blanket statements with no nuance, you're potentially including people who don't fit that description?
Well, that's why I say not all, not all, not all, not all, but most. Most black people are weak.
And I just find it quite amazing. I just find it amazing for you to say that, well, America was founded by white people and somehow white people create and other people destroy. I mean, the people who founded the country were slaveholders, and I hope that you wouldn't use that as a defining characteristic of who should be in charge.
Well, not all white people were slave holders. There were white men who were not slave holders. And you're right. What happened is that the Arabs went over to Africa and bought black people from other black people who were using those folks as money and everything else, right? So the Arabs bought the blacks from Africa and they sold them around the world. Even in America, there were black people who owned black people back in those days as well, when slavery did exist, something like 150 years ago. And so it was not all white people.
I know. And in the same way that not all white people destroy, not all white people create, not all black people destroy.
Are you in America right now?
Am.
Sorry?
Am, yes.
Can you name me one area or one place or one thing where majority of black people live there and it's a beautiful place to go and live?
I don't think about a people. I think about.
Well, that's the problem. You're not
and
thinking.
just because we can't name them doesn't mean they don't exist.
If it existed, you would be able to name it.
Okay, so the capital of Zimbabwe exists. Can you name it?
That's not in America.
Okay. What's the okay, all right.
I rest my case.
The code of your
Murder!
DNA exists in America. Can you recite
You're
it?
asking me dumb questions right now. I asked you to name one place in America
No,
where majority of black
so
people
just
live,
follow me here for a second.
and you want to go live there.
So I said just because they can't name it doesn't mean it exists, and you said that if it exists, then
I bet you
then
could
we
name
would-
me
then we would
places
know
where
about it.
majority of white people live, and
Just follow me
you
here
want to
for
go
a second.
live there.
Just follow me for a second. You said to name one place where black people live and it's better. So you said that, and then I said just because we can't name it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And you countered that by saying basically yes it does. If it existed you would know about it. So I'm pointing out that there are many things that exist in the USA that you don't know about, and it doesn't mean that they don't exist.
Well, I may not know about those things. I may not know my flowers, but I know black people. And black people are destroying America. They're not building.
I have a question, just a quick one in between, and Dave wants to get back in. Jesse, are there black women out there smarter than you?
No.
And is it possible for there to be a black woman out there smarter than you?
Women are not smarter than men, so it's impossible.
So Michaela, who's in the room here, it's not possible that she's smarter than you.
No way.
Okay.
So
Women are not smarter than men. Women are illogical. Men are logical.
And what about the IQ?
Jesse, can there
So
be exceptions?
I would just like to interject there and say that I took you through a series of logical syllogisms that you had a very difficult time following.
Because that was dumb.
But it's logic.
That
It's
was
textbook
dumb logic.
So
See, I
it's
told you,
still logic.
look
Even
at
if
the
you
way
think
she
it's dumb,
thinks. She has
even
an
if you think it's dumb,
illogical mindset.
Just listen to me. Even if you think it's dumb, it's still logic. And you had a
In
harder
your
time with
mind-
logic than I did. Logic is there are rules of logic that exist. I tried to
I
take
asked
through
you
some of them.
about. I asked you to name a place in America where black people, majority of blacks live, and you want to live there. You come up with Zimbabwe. That's dumb.
That's not what I said. See,
Whenever
I
you
can't
say
believe that you think that you're smarter than me right now, and
no,
you're not
you are.
following
I
me
can
here.
think of many things to call you. Smart is not one.
Ooh. Throwing shade. I want to go back to Dave.
You are not very nice.
I am. I love you. I'm very nice.
No, if that's what love is, then I'll just take hate.
I want to know what love is.
I want you to show me.
I want to go to Metal. I said I'd give you a moment here, Metal, and then after
Sure.
Metal, I want to give Bruno an option.
All right. Now, I want to apologize earlier. I'm sorry for that outburst. I was multitasking and
You have anger.
I
That's
have
why.
well because I have a lot of issues with
I
communism.
tell you, just like a female, any man that has anger, any male that has anger,
That is,
female.
he's the bearded lady.
Amazing.
Amazing.
But
Go ahead, Metal.
so the thing I'm going to ask is so what is proof to you? If I like said if I showed you there's a box over there and you saw it, you would say there's a box over there, right?
Right.
Now, what if I said a government institution said there's a box downtown? Would you believe it or would you not trust it because it's from the government?
I will wait and see. If I wanted to check it out, see if it's true, I will go and check it out. I
All right.
wouldn't believe it just because they said it.
Is it because it's from the government or just because someone said it in general?
Because someone said it, period.
Okay. Now,
You always have a wait and see attitude about all things because until you see it for yourself, you don't know if it's real or not.
so
So
now
wait
if I
and
was
see
to show
if
you,
you're smarter than me.
Hold on a minute.
But
you're
then-
talking-
let me get it.